Okay, first thing you do when you're using Robot C is you locate the program on the desktop. This is what the icon looks like. It says Robot C on it. It is on your desktop when you log in. So make sure you find that. It should be pretty simple. Now, when you open it, it'll probably ask here to update, don't, and it brings you to the start page. Now keep in mind this is a commercial product, so I mean they do advertising and stuff here. This is not so much what you're concerned about. What you do need, and you need to do this every single time you open up Robot C. This has to happen every single time this sequence of events. You need to go to Robot, then Platform Type, hop over here, Innovation First, and see what language is selected. Natural Language Vex Cortex. That is, it has to be in that language. You will not get anything to work if you don't put it in the right language. So make big notes of that, put big stars around it, a bunch of things pointing to it, because that you have to make sure you are writing in Natural Language Vex Cortex. It has to be that one. And unfortunately, you'll have to, every time you log in each day, you'll have to do that because of the way the computers are frozen out there. So, once you've made sure you're in the right language, then in order to open up a page or a file that you can start writing your program in, you follow these simple steps. You go File, Open Sample Program. Then if you scroll down, you should be in, it should say Vex 2 here. If it's not, either Vex or Vex 2, both will work. But you got to be in one of those folders. You scroll down to where you find the PLTW folder. Open that up, and then you should see the PLTW template. And so, you open that one. Then, so you've gotten that pathway written down. Now, once you open this, you need to go back to File, Save As. In order to keep your template blank, so that every time you open it, you don't have to erase a bunch of stuff that you had written before, you have to go to Save As. Not Save, Save As. Why do we need to make it a Save As? Basically because, yeah, you're making, just like in Google, when we make a copy of something, that's essentially what Save As is. You're making your own copy of that. So then you can save it, of course, find your network folder, and save it wherever you need. Okay? So that's just opening and getting to a place to where we are writing. Now, the thing, as you're looking in here, everything that's written in green is just for the person. Okay? That's just for humans, as we say. The computer does not read that. So like you see, if you want to put a title on it, your team members, the date, what section you are, task description, pseudocode. Now, I don't require you to write pseudocode. I require you to, or not your pseudocode here. I have you do it after all of your commands. The program itself is written under task main, in between the two curly cues here. Now, there is an infinite amount of space between those curly cues, but that's where your program has to be. This between under task main and in between the open and close curly brackets. That's where the cortex looks to read the program. Okay? So before you start writing everything, all your different commands, you gotta go and tell the program where you're plugging all your components into, where your motors are located, where your switches are located, where your LEDs are. You gotta tell them where you're plugging these things into, so that then when those commands make those things happen, that's where they send the command to, is those locations. So really simple to set up our motors and sensors. We go to Robot, Motor and Sensor Setup. Okay. When you open that now, you'll see that there is a whole bunch of tabs here. The only two you need to be concerned with, the only two tabs, are the Motor tab and this VEX 2.0 Digital Sensors 1 through 12. Those are the only two right here. Motors and VEX 2.0 Digital Sensors. So let's first set up, just quick do a demo of setting up motors. All right. Motors, and make a little note of this in your notes because you're going to want to reference back to it. The motors are a 2-wire motor that we use. They can plug directly into your Cortex in ports 1 and 10. In ports 2 through 9, you need to use that motor controller that converts the 2-wire motor to a 3-wire. Okay? So depending upon whether you're using a motor controller or not, depends upon what port you're going to put it in. So we're going to say we have motors in ports 2 and 3. I think that's what your test bed will say. And just give it a name. Something logical, because in order to avoid confusion, you're going to want to name things appropriately. Also, nothing too terribly vague. The program, the Robot C program, knows the word motor as something other than you are going to be intending it for. So, simple fix on that is, like, say your right motor is plugged into port 2. Well, I'm just going to type in there then, right motor. General rule of thumb in programming, even though this has gotten better over the years, no spaces, no capitals, no problems. So I got port 2, right motor, port 3, left motor, and you can see this on the back of the motors we use, but you got to select the type of motor it is. The motors we use, all of them, are the VEX 269 motor. So every motor type that you will use is going to be that type. All right? So make a little note of that. You can also, too, if you need to reverse your motor entirely, like you just want it spinning the other direction always, you can, reverse it up here. Or you can, if you need it to go one way for a while and another way for spin the other way for a different time, I'll show you how to do that too. That's not too tough. All right, so motors. I'm going to say we only got 2 motors here. Now digital sensors. All the switches that we use, the bump switches and the touch sensors, the bump switch and the limit switch, they are both digital sensors, and their type is touch. So make note of that. So say you got your bump switch in digital port 1, and say your limit switch is in digital port 2. What are both of these? Their type is a touch sensor. All right, so got your switches located. Let's put our LED down here. Now LEDs, same thing. if it's a green LED, if it's a red LED, if it's a yellow LED, whatever you're using it for, name it something logical so it's easy to figure out. So like say I want my green LED in digital 7, I'm going to put my red LED in digital 8, and I'm going to put my yellow LED in digital 9. Okay. Switches are touch sensors. LEDs, when you select their type, guess what they are? Yeah, VEX LED. So, select the types of those. So for when you're selecting types, all switches are a touch sensor, all LEDs are VEX LED as a type, and all motors are the VEX 269. Okay, so let's say those are all the components I plugged into my robot at this point. Hit apply, hit OK. Now you'll see that up top here has changed. All that motor and sensor setup stuff, this is basically like the index. It's saying this is where you told the program where all this stuff is. So this is just a way you can check it. You can make sure what port it's in here, whether it's in a digital or a motor port. You can see what you named it, what type it is, and then the motors are, of course, an open loop system. Now, one thing to note. What do you think that says right there? But I mean, like the letters. I know it looks like it's a 1-1. It's not. It's DGTL, then the port number. In this case, our bump switch is in digital 1. So note, and make note of that in your notes, that it's DGTL, then the port number. Okay, make sure that you have that L, because when you're telling what sensors are going where, if you typed an 11 here, it wouldn't know what you're talking about, and then you'd have to troubleshoot. So just know this: DGTL, then the number. All right. Now, when